Hey, hi all. Welcome to BRR Knowledge Center. In this today's session, we'll talk about what is .NET CLI and what is .NET CTS and what is CLS in .NET. So we are going to discuss about these three concepts in today's session, and we'll see the diagrammatical representation of how the CLI is looks like as part of .NET architecture, and also common type system, that is CTS, how it is going to using compilers and data types differently between this C sharp and VB or F sharp languages. And also we'll see what is CLS, like common language specifications. And these are order actually. One is CLI is the first one, that is infrastructure. Instead of infrastructure, we'll have a common type systems, and inside of common type system we have a common language specifications. Okay, let us look at the first thing, that is CLI, right? That means common language infrastructure. What is this common language infrastructure in .NET? So when we talk about this common language infrastructure, right, we should think of the architecture of .NET, wherein once you install a .NET, it is going to install on top of operating system, right? You know what is an operating system? Operating system is nothing but, interface between human and system, right? Which is going to allow and provide functionalities to talk each other between human and system, right? And top of operating system, when you install .NET Framework, it is going to sit on top of this operating system. And inside of .NET, we have in different components, as I mentioned, like, different languages, C sharp, VB.NET, J sharp, like that. And also language interoperability and some framework class libraries. And also we have a CLR, which is nothing but common language runtime. And in that, we have these particular concepts like CLI and CTS and CLS. Okay, so the common language infrastructure is open source or open specification, right? Uh, Introduced by Microsoft, that describes the executable code and runtime environment that allows multiple high-level languages to be used on computer with different platforms. So without being rewritten for a specific architecture, we're going to use this common language infrastructure. That means whatever programs we are going to write inside of a .NET by using any language, these all languages or programs are going to be executed, right? And the same platform called, same infrastructure called common language infrastructure. So the source code in compatible programming language or compiled into CIL, that's what we talk about in the previous classes. So once you write a program, right? When I say, like, if I write some program, so void static void main, right? String. When I write some program like in this way, right? This is going to be executed by the language specific compiler, right? Console dot write line of welcome to CLI, right? And then I'm going to give some, right, console dot read to keep wait for user click to close the window, right? So when I compile this particular program, what it is happening is it is going to convert, right, this CIL code. That means common intermediate language, right, or MSIL, right? This is going to convert, right? Or let me draw a diagram kind of stuff, right? This is going to, right, convert into CIL or MSIL. You can say MSIL or CIL, both are same. Common Intermediate Language or Microsoft Intermediate Language, right? So this is what the intermediate stage, which is going to create from your source code, right? Once this CLI code is created, right? This is going to, conform, right? This is going to conform to the CLR, right? Please bring the JIT compiler into the picture to convert my CLI code into native code, right? So that's why this code is going to be, right, passed to JIT compiler. So again, we have different JIT compilers, just-in-time compilers, and you can see these JIT compilers and CIL and MSIL stuff in my previous videos. Okay, so when JIT is taking that CL code and converts that code into, mission dependent or independent code. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain is, if you want to do all these things, right? If you want to do all these, this conversion and, coming here, right? And looking at this particular CIL or MSIL, right? And then passing it to JIT compiler, right? This is where the area we are calling as CLR, which is Common Language Runtime. On top of this, right? On top of this, we have infrastructure that is called CLI, Common Language Infrastructure. So this environment itself is known as a common language infrastructure. For any language on the CLI, it must comply with two specifications, that is CTS and CLS. Okay, that is common type system and common language specifications. Okay, so let's get this diagram to understand more on this, right? Let me paste it here. Yeah, this one. Me coming here, right? And paste it here, right? If you look at this diagram, right? So I have different languages, C sharp, F sharp, and VB, right? And every language is having its own compiler. Here, this is compiler, and this is compiler. Of course, all compilers are compiler only, right? If you look at previous versions of Visual Basic, that is interpreter VB 6.0, and Python is interpreter-based programming language. But here in this .NET, all languages are compiler-based. These compilers, like CSC means it is C# compiler, FSC, and VBC. These are separate compilers, right? Each language is having or provided by Microsoft to compile your source code. So these compilers will get compile your code, right? And creates CIL stuff. That's what we just now we talk about, right? This is what common language runtime here, right? This common language runtime will create a common intermediate language, .NET compatible language specific compilers translates to CIL, right? Once this converts to CIL, right? This gives to CLR JIT compiler. JIT compiler will convert to this machine specific or machine understood language that is called binary, right? That means 0 and 1s, right? So what I'm trying to tell about here is this particular area, right, is called a common language infrastructure. Common language infrastructure. Got it? So whatever CIL stuff is created by CLR is going to be given to a JIT compiler. This entire process is going to be executed on this particular area. That's why I told you CLI is a open specification, right? Which is describing the executable code and runtime environment that allows multiple high-level languages. Okay. So when I talk about this definition, right? CIL is an open source specification, right? Developed by Microsoft that describes the executable code and its runtime environment. So this CIL will describes the executable code and the environment. So what environment your code is going to be executed, either Unix or Windows or Linux or Mac OS kind of stuff. And also talks about the executable code, right? The CIL code or MSIL code inside of CIL. Okay. So the source code, right? The source code incompatible source code incompatible programming languages are compiled into CIL, that is common language, sorry, common intermediate language. Okay. So a language independent of the mission, independent of the mission and the processor, right? Which is executed by virtual execution system, that is called VES. This is one more component inside of CIL called a virtual execution system, right? Of the own framework of mission, of the own framework of the mission. So the source code in compatible programming languages are compiled into CIL. This is common intermediate language. So a language is independent of the mission and the processor, right, is executed by a virtual execution system of the own framework of the mission. Okay. So for any language on the CLI environment, it must comply with two specifications. This environment is going to be comply with two specifications. Okay. So that means for any language on the CLI, it must comply with two specifications. One is CTS, second one is CLS. CTS means common type system, right? Common type system, right? A set of types and operations on types. The CTS contains. CLS means common language specification. This is nothing but a set of rules allowing different languages to use the same libraries. Okay, so these two are the specifications for any CLI, common language specifications, sorry, common language specifications, which inside we have common language type system and common language specifications. So any language of the CLI component is going to have these two specifications. Okay, so as I told you, this CLI common language infrastructure, right, is going to have an open standard, right, to describe the executable code and runtime environment. So all languages are going to be compiled into a CIL, right? A language independent of the machine and the processor, which is again executed by a virtual execution system of the own framework of the machine, right? So any language, we have two complies. It must comply with two specifications. One is CTS and CLI, because this common language, right, infrastructure comply with CTS and CLS. Okay, so this is about this common language infrastructure. Okay, let's see like what is CTS and this what is CLS in the next session. Okay, so thanks for listening to this video and please subscribe this channel for more videos. Thank you.